Let's talk. Joining us, we welcome back to the show North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum. Great pleasure to see you. And my dear friend Rick Perry, former Texas governor and former energy secretary. Governor Doug Burgum, thanks for coming back on the show. Rick Perry, thank you. Governor Burgum, these sanctions are non-sanctions. They were never enforced. There were carve-outs for banks and energy companies. You've got Azerbaijani traders running rings around the United States and the rest of it, and we were afraid to use their central bank reserves, which could really cripple them, $300 billion. I mean, who can take this Ukrainian stuff seriously, Governor Burgum?
Well, you can't. 4,000 sanctions before by the Bidens that didn't work, 500 more today. And this is like Swiss cheese. They can sell right through this. And Larry, you're so right in your opening remarks. I mean, China, world's largest importer of oil, 10 million barrels a day. And now we've got Russia selling billions of dollars of oil to the BRIC countries and to China. China's replenishing their strategic petroleum reserve. And the only thing I can interpret here is that Joe Biden's trying to have it two ways. He's trying to look like he's acting tough, but he's afraid of getting gas prices to go up in the U.S. And he wants them low before the election, just like he drained our strategic petroleum reserve before the midterms. But that's what he's trying to manage. And at the same time, he's also attacking U.S. energy, like banning LNG exports. So it's almost like his energy policy was designed by Russia itself.
It's like stupid to the 10th power. I mean, you can't. Every single thing is a mistake that compounds the mistake. Rick Perry, China's buying a lot of Russian oil. Okay, so we know that. India's buying a lot of Russian oil, so we know that too. So suppose Joe Biden got on the phone with Xi Jinping. This is sort of like another leader that I can remember, and said, if you don't stop buying Russian oil, I'm going to triple the tariffs on all your exports to the United States. Just going to triple them. And it will take effect tomorrow under Section 301. Why? Remember somebody that you and I both know did that kind of thing once upon a time. But that somebody's not in the White House now.
Very true. And, wish he was and can't wait till he's back. I'm telling you, this is rope-a-dope foreign policy, what we're seeing out of Biden. I mean, when you think about, he gets up in front of the American people, and let me just say as an aside, your monologue was spot on. It's important for the American people to understand that and to know the details of these sanctions. Sanctions historically have only worked in about 20% of the time. Unfortunately, because most people that are putting those sanctions into place are more interested in the political message that it sends rather than making the hard decisions and really making the hard impact, because sanctions ought to hurt. You need sanctions to be very precise, and you need for them to be quick and swift and really cut to the bone. And that's what Donald Trump did while he was the president of the United States. And Biden is just afraid that he's going to make somebody mad, or, frankly, I don't know what drives his foreign policy, but it's been weak. It's been, again, I go back to the rope-a-dope. He's over here trying to make the American people think that he's being tough. And on the other side of it, he may not be winking at them, but they know that these sanctions aren't really going to have impact. If you want to hurt Putin, open up those LNG ports along the southern coast of America and send as much liquefied natural gas as you can to Europe.
Yeah, Governor Doug Burgum, let's talk LNG. Rick Perry worked on that in the White House. I worked on that with him. A bunch of us worked on that. It's tragic in the middle of this Ukrainian war, which Biden, makes so many grandiose statements about. But the fact remains, cutting off LNG is the stupidest idea, plays right into Putin's hands. They never should have allowed the Nord Stream pipeline. We were going to stop that, the Trump administration. And I know you've been in contact with President Trump and Governor Burgum. You've been campaigning for him. What is the president saying, or what do you want the president to say, former president, about all this? Because this is a fiasco. This is making America look bad, it seems to me.
Well, both of you have worked with President Trump, and you know that he's a common sense guy, and it just makes sense. We should be selling energy to our friends and allies as opposed to letting our adversaries be the world's suppliers. And that simple thing would change our economy. It changes our national security. It changes all of our relationships. And it's not, certainly LNG from the Gulf Coast to Europe is a no-brainer because otherwise they're going to keep buying it from Russia. But go the other way. Last night, I'm here in D.C. for the governor's national conference talking to the ambassador from Japan. Japan has almost no oil and gas. If we had LNG exports on the West Coast, if you get a pipeline from the Bakken or from the Permian down in Texas to the West Coast, Japan would buy 20 years of LNG from us, and they'd stop buying from the Middle East. So we've got a global opportunity and maybe a global responsibility to sell to our allies like Japan, like South Korea, like the Philippines, like everyone in Europe, because if we don't do that, we're just going to let the other guys fill it up. And Biden's paying for, or Putin's paying for his war with his oil sales. Iran is funding terrorism with their oil sales. Iran, with Biden lifting the sanctions on Iran, lifting them on Venezuela, they're flooding the market with our adversaries. Our adversaries are making bank like they've never have before.
Yeah, you know, Rick Perry, Mr. Burgum is right. China is financing two wars against the United States by buying Russian oil and by buying Iranian oil. And in both cases, we, the U.S., should have sanctions on both. They should have primary sanctions, no carve-outs. They should have secondary sanctions. They could be stopping ships in midstream. I mean, this Azerbaijan trader is running circles around it. I think that's pretty pathetic. Another point, Rick Perry, before I lose you guys. I know, Rick, you're a big advocate of nuclear. And there's a good story in the Wall Street Journal how Canada is going nuclear. Now, the greenies who say they like renewables don't ever seem to like nuclear. And here's another example of what the United States should be doing but isn't doing in energy.
Yeah, absolutely. I was down in South Texas just earlier in the month for a project down there on some of the largest uranium reserves in North America are along the Texas Gulf Coast. And again, getting the message, we ought to be given incentives to companies to be able to develop their uranium. Right now, I don't know what the percentage of the uranium that we rely upon Russia for, but it is a substantial percentage. And the idea that we're waiting on the Russians to make sure that we have uranium is just a fool's errand. So absolutely, we need to be focused on small modular reactors. We need to be given a lot of incentives. If all of these incentives on renewables had been focused upon how we develop a small modular reactor world and how we develop more fuel, we would be substantially farther ahead because it's base load, it works 24/7, emission-free, and if you're one of the folks who care about the environment, which I'm one of, but I'm not a radical. I realize that you can do that and do it in a safe, walk-away way with small modular reactors.
Doug Burgum, last one to you. You and I this afternoon are talking to one of the great energy secretaries of all time. Doug, you have a great record as a businessman and a governor in an energy-rich state. You fixing to be Mr. Trump's energy secretary if he wins?
Well, I think both of you know that President Trump, he'll pick a great cabinet when the time of his choosing comes. There's a lot of people that want to work and serve with him. I think the most important thing for all of us right now is to get him elected because in energy states like Texas or North Dakota, we can't take another 4 years of Joe Biden's policies, and neither can America. Our economy can't, our families can't, our communities can't. We've got to win in November.
Great stuff. Thank you, gentlemen. Governor Doug Burgum, former Governor and Energy Secretary Rick Perry, my very dear friend. You're both terrific to come on the show. I'm Kudlow. We'll be right back to take a look at our economy. Is it really the best in the world or what?
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.